recruitment has so many different problems. The job market is so incredibly fragmented, and the hiring process just takes so incredibly long. If you're an applicant today, you're applying to jobs, you see the perfect job for you, you're like, okay, I'm this database engineer, let me send an application in. And you just kind of wait there for weeks or months before you hear anything back. So they're just so busy with back-end processes. And maybe 2 months go by and you hear something back saying, let's schedule an interview. And then maybe a couple more weeks go by or month go by, a couple more hiring managers, directors, and the entire process just takes so incredibly long. That ends up taking months of time. But the core decision-making points along that whole timeline happen within a day or two. It's just taking them that long through all the back-end processes, all the paperwork they're doing, all the other jobs that they're managing. Because of all this other work that they're doing, all these companies are missing out on this valuable talent.
Okay, so let's get started. So today we're going to talk about ascent hiring, AI revolutionizing recruitment. Abhishek there. And over here, I'm Ujjal Bhayachi, Generative AI in Enterprise, episode 26. So I started this whole meetup group or the podcast series back in December. And today is the 26th episode. Agenda is very, very simple. We'll do a quick introduction, housekeeping, and disclaimer, etc. And disclaimer is this is practically the whole thing is my own and nothing to do with my employer strategies or opinion. This is being recorded, will be shared in social media, so no IPs, nothing. You do not want to share any IPs or anything like that. But we'll just have fun and discuss not only the thought process about how you're building this company, the startup thingy, but also more about a little bit more technical deep dive about the technologies behind it and how do you think about growing this technology and use this thing, using the generative AI technology in the future to your advantage. So that's pretty much it. Not much of thing going over there from a introduction standpoint. So Abhishek, let's get started. I mean, why don't you tell a little bit about yourself? What is your background and how did you get started with this ascent hiring and what is keeping you excited and interested?
So, my name is Abhishek. I'm the CEO and founder of Ascent Hiring. And our aim is to connect companies and candidates quicker than ever before. So some background on myself is I worked at an NLP fintech startup beforehand. So I was creating custom AI NLP models for some of Wall Street's biggest institutions. You've probably heard of most of them. It's a couple of hedge funds, insurance companies, ratings agencies. So all over Wall Street, whatever kinds of analysis they needed from text, they came to our fintech company and I was creating custom AI models for them. So for that, we were typically using GPT-2, which was state of the art back then. Then GPT-3, as soon as that came out and we got a license to use it, that one was a little bit more closed. That's when it started going from open AI to a little bit more closed AI. So we were creating these really high performing models across 10K, 10Q, SEC filings, and news in general for some of the more insurance related ratings agencies. So that's a little bit about my background. And for Ascend Hiring, took all of the knowledge I grasped from creating these models and transferred them into creating a framework of AI agents that do help companies find the greatest talent that applies to their job, but also we're building out features to help amplify the reach of their job. So we're in the process of building the world's largest recruitment network as well. And together between our AI agents, increasing the precision of their hires and the recruiter network, increasing the recall or the number of people that apply to these jobs, we're aiming to revolutionize recruitment as quick as we can.
Awesome. Okay. So AI agent, everyone is talking about AI agent nowadays.
Yeah.
That's the hottest thing in the market after ChatGPT, I believe, right? I remember like 2022, December or November, I think like one of my friend came in and he showed me, hey, have you seen this ChatGPT? And I don't follow news a lot. Then I was like, okay, what is ChatGPT? And that's how I got introduced. And luckily, like there was some, then I got kind of like fascinated with that ChatGPT. I think everyone got fascinated. And interestingly, like when I was like so much fascinated and trying to learn this technology, uh, there was some opportunity which came around within our organization, like my employer, and then say, hey, I mean, I know like you are interested. Do you want to get into this project? I was like jumping up and down. Like, yeah. Let's see. And that's how I got interested. But then I think now in the last few months, I think AI agent has been there for a long time, but the development of the newer frameworks of AI agent is making it more and more interesting. So we're going to talk about that real quick. I know like you did a lot of things about cryptocurrency and things in the past. Do you want to talk about that a little bit more?
Yeah, we can talk about that.
Yeah, yes.
So, I was a pretty big gamer around 2012, 2013, back when I was in high school, and I wanted to build a gaming computer. So I spent months picking out the right pieces, the right GPU, CPU, making it as performant as possible for the right cost. And so eventually, I got the right money, the right funds, and all the prices were aligned. So I pulled the trigger, built my own gaming PC with it was an AMD GPU at the time. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. I started playing some games and then actually stumbled upon a forum post. So everything in those days was essentially like forums. Forums had the greatest insights, the greatest news, the most cutting edge information. So I was reading one of these forum posts and someone on there was using actually the same exact GPU I had, but they were mining cryptocurrency with it. And I was like, okay, I don't know what cryptocurrency is. I don't know anything about it. So I started studying it a little bit, figuring out that, okay, if I run this, shell command, overclock my GPU a little bit, manage all the GPU temperatures, things like that, I can make some sort of cryptocurrency, whatever that means. And so I just kept diving deeper and deeper into it. At first, it was the quick money that kind of allured me. And then as I kept reading and studying and looking at YouTube videos, especially from people like Andre Antonopoulos, I don't know if you've heard of him. He's basically like one of my guiding figures. And then I'd hear things about like the Federal Reserve and money in general. So I had a very big background in economics, business, and I loved learning about how the economy works. So putting all these pieces together between how Peter Schiff was saying the Fed's just going to print money forever, how Andreas Antonopoulos was saying Bitcoin is the most secure monetary form and database of currency on the planet, potentially not just this planet, but other planets to come. And putting together all these pieces, I realized that, okay, this crypto is more than just a quick money in 2013. It's something that can potentially revolutionize money, not just for Americans, but especially for countries that are not America, because America just has so much existing financial infrastructure already. People in America don't necessarily understand the benefits of crypto or haven't in the past, whereas countries like India or countries that have more remittance-based kind of economies, they would definitely feel the effects. And so I started getting deeper and deeper into crypto, and I also actually borrowed a friend's GPU to double the efforts of my mining. And eventually I just started picking up trends across all these forums. So all these forums are talking about this new coin, Dogecoin, Flappy Coin, Ruby Coin.
So many, yeah.
You name the whatever and then put coin at the end of it. And I've definitely looked at the paper, read up the tokenomics, seen how to mine it, things like that. So I eventually, after some time, I realized that mining it is a decent way to make stable money. But if you traded the cryptocurrencies, you could actually make far more money with far less energy.
Lesser energy, yeah.
So that's when I started getting into trading. So, and I don't know why or how, but I started picking up the trends in like the social activity, the forum post, and I could kind of tell which cryptocurrencies were going to do really well within the next 24 to 48 hours. So I would buy a bunch of that, sell everything I had, buy a bunch of that, and then just sit on that for maybe 24 hours. And in those days, within 24 hours, it was very not like the stock market. In the stock market, if something goes up 5-10% in a day, you're like, oh, wow, it went up so much. Crypto, if it goes up 400-500% in a day, you're like, okay, that's a good day. Like, that's what it should be, essentially. And then on the flip side, it's like, okay, you don't just lose 5-10%, you're losing 80-90%.
Correct. Yeah. More than that.
Daily basis. So, but if you pick even just a couple of the right coins, you put it in 3-4 coins and 2 or 3 went up, and you turned like, say, $5-10, which is about what I was making for mining, and you turn that into quickly, very like 50, 100, 300, 500. And I was like, okay, there's something here that's like people that are very nerdy, very technical are not seeing yet. And that was essentially, I knew that was my edge. So I actually brought some of this to like some attention to my fellow high schoolers, and they were actually very interested at first, seeing like, hey, you're making a lot of money. And as soon as I asked them like, hey, do you want to put money in? They said, no. It's just, it seems like it's monopoly money. I don't know if it's real. But there's actually one student who gave me $100. I still remember this. He gave me $100 and he's like, do whatever you want with, and I'll see what happens. And within, I believe it was like, it couldn't have been more than 3 or 4 days. That 100 turned to 200. And I come back to him, and I tell him, hey, you're $100, $200 now. Do you want to take it out or keep it going? He said, no, take it out. So I withdrew it, turned it into $200, gave it to him. And essentially when I gave him the $200 in the middle of class, basically in high school, everyone's head kind of turned and said, wow, this guy gave him $100 and now it's $200 in a couple of days. Let me also try to give him some money. So that's kind of what started, a little bit of a fund I was raising. So people started giving me $200, $500, $1,000. It started perpetually getting bigger, amounts of money. And then eventually, actually, some of their parents would also give me money. So now it wasn't just the high schoolers, it was the high schoolers and their parents not giving a high schooler money, and like $2,000, $5,000, $10,000. And all of a sudden,
oh my God, really?
And so all of a sudden, I'm going from a pretty good student at the time to barely going to class, just getting the assignments done as quickly and as haphazardly as I can, just to keep my eyes on crypto, because crypto isn't like any other market on the planet. It was a 24/7 market. So if you fell asleep for 2 hours, the whole market could be different.
Correct.
So that was basically my senior year of high school. I was like full-time crypto. I ended up getting some less than stellar grades that year, but it was still pretty fun to be like all of this crypto, all the growth of it, especially how institutions were starting to talk about it and calling it, oh, it's not real, it's not fake. And here I am understanding it a little bit more than that, because I've been in space for a little bit longer, saying, no, there's something here that you guys are all missing. And I started Bitcoin like right around Mt. Gox. It started going up, and then essentially the explosion of Mt. Gox. So right around the middle end of 2013. And that kind of put a damper on crypto for a little bit, but it put a big emphasis on the altcoins. So you probably like some of the altcoins.
Ethereum, etc. Yeah.
So Ethereum wasn't even out at that point. So actually with Ethereum, at that point, our fund had quite a bit money in it. We actually had a business give us money. So I don't know if they were legitimate or not. There was this crypto company in the UK who were like, hey, we have 50 Bitcoin. We want to give you 20 just to trade. So I was like, okay, we took their 20, traded that a bit, made them money. They advertised themselves trading firm, but I don't know if they did any trading at all, or they just relied on us for all of their actual trading. But so we made everyone money, and then Ethereum ICO actually came out, and I was looking at it like, okay, it's 2015. smart contracts. It was a proof of work coin at that point, and I was like, okay, there's some huge potential here. Like Bitcoin doesn't quite meet, because Bitcoin kind of became this synonymous gold. It's something that shouldn't be changed, shouldn't be adjusted too much. It should kind of keep its core properties intact, whether it's the coin limit or the way it's mined or the energy usage, the difficulty scaling, all of these kind of technical features. People in like the core Bitcoin people were always like, we should never change this. And I kind of agreed, because if we want to use it as money for the next 100,000, 10,000 years, it should be something that's very stable, very predictable. So, but Ethereum kind of came along and said, hey, we're going to do something drastically different than everything else in the crypto space. We're not just going to be a coin. We're going to allow the creation of more coins, also contracts, people executing, acting like an escrow, but an automated escrow, something that you don't necessarily rely on third party. You just rely on cryptography itself. And I was like, oh, that seems very brilliant. So our fund put in some money into the Ethereum ICO. It did, in hindsight, it did incredibly well. And some of the Ethereum I still hold today is actually from that Ethereum ICO. So some of my coins are given directly from Vitalik himself, theoretically.
Really? Okay. I mean, like, did you meet him? Okay. No, I mean, like, I got it. Yeah.
Indirectly, I guess. But like, yeah, exactly. Straight from the Genesis block. So, so it's been interesting seeing just the evolution of not necessarily crypto, because crypto has been around since 2009, 2010, and lots of people got into it before me. More people have gotten into it after me, but just seeing how crypto itself hasn't necessarily changed, but how in people's mind it becomes something more solidified, more stable, and purely because the price goes up. Like it's hard to ascribe it to anything else other than the fact that, hey, this thing that was $200 I was telling you to buy, that was going to be $10,000 one day, is now 20,000. Then it drops back down to 3,000. And people are like, oh, it's a sham, it's a scam. And it goes up to 70,000. Now it's back down to 55,000.
Right. So now again, like, people are not believing it. Again, it will go.
Exactly. So it's just fun to see how people's mind, it just constantly evolves and changes. While the people who understand the technology and the use cases and what it like can and will be in the future are like, okay, now this is a very stable asset. And I mean, technically stable, price wise, not that stable, but it's something that I kind of theorized very early on, is in order for it to actually be as stable as people are predicting, kind of like a gold asset or like a dollar, the value of a Bitcoin has to be so much higher. Otherwise it's currently still very infantile, very toddler-esque in terms of its youth and its age. So I kind of predicted even 10 years ago that it would probably take 15 to 20 years for it to truly reach some sort of stable price where it's only going up and down maybe 2-3% a week or a month or something like that. So it's been fun seeing that kind of play out. That 16-year-old child's high schooler's theory, and then kind of play itself out to now being this massive phenomenon worldwide that governments are now buying into, corporations are now buying and putting on their balance sheets, and seeing that evolution of now like retail is now buying it, institutional investors are now buying, the ETFs now are going to potentially help that, especially in the next cycle. It'll probably carry it to a whole different level than what we've been used to before.
Amazing. So gaming PC, from their fun projects to kind of like maximize the utility of GPUs, from there suddenly getting into cryptocurrency and then getting hooked into it. And now into AI space. And this is the new trend. And then now you're into AI agents. So let's talk about like, your plan. So, I mean, like, why AI and why AI agents and why not cryptocurrency, still sticking into cryptocurrency and building something on that platform? And why did you choose to go to AI? And I know like you did some work in the financial industry, like working with NLPs and all this. We are going to talk about that real quick. But then why do you think that people are now all talking about only AI and they forgot about cryptocurrency.
Yeah, I kind of saw this coming too around like 2017, 2018. So there's this YouTube channel called 2 Minute Papers. I don't know if you've seen them. But
No.
They were this guy, he's a PhD scholar, and he was basically explaining these PhD papers of how these neural nets, learning algorithms were solving problems that were unsolved. It was not trained to solve, but these AIs were just solving naturally. And I kind of saw the original DALL-E, essentially, like pre-DALL-E almost. Like, how do you create an image, or how do you give it an image and tell you what it is? So I would look at all these YouTube videos about what was happening in AI, and I realized that, okay, this is at this level today. What will it be in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years even? So I started putting together the pieces again, saying like, okay, this is going to require more GPUs. At the same time, the GPUs were kind of being taken by the miners. The crypto was hogging all the GPUs for a time being. At the same time, all these people doing AI were like, no, we need the GPUs too. We need to do some things. And there's this kind of dichotomy versus crypto versus like compute, in a way of like, people really wanted the GPUs for themselves just to make money, essentially. They want to mine the coins, while the people on the other side were like, hey, we're trying to solve real problems. We're trying to eventually cure cancer, cure these diseases, help see insights that we've never been seen before. And I started seeing the AI vision more so at that time, saying like, okay, these AI scientists and researchers have a point. Like, they're working on something truly next level, truly game changing. While the crypto miners were essentially just using that same technology for something basic. So in terms of why I hopped on AI, that's basically the biggest reason. And then I just kind of kept seeing all these papers, and each paper maybe came out once. A mind-blowing paper came out maybe once every 2 to 3 months. And I would see something while like, okay, this is amazing. And then I'd wait 2 to 3 months more, and like, oh no, this paper, take the old paper and makes it look like prehistoric. So I'd keep seeing these like Nobel Prize winning papers every 2 to 3 months. And I understood the pace that it was increasing at. I could see very distinctly, like, it was getting quicker. So instead of now waiting 2 to 3 months for the next breakthrough, it was 1 to 2 months. And then right around like, I kept working in the company. I kept seeing more and more updates. And now every month there was some Nobel Prize winning paper, but it was never going to win the Nobel Prize, because the next month after that, something else would come in and completely beat even that one. So I was like, okay, this is something I need to study and understand just as in depth as like I went into crypto way back when. So
even I follow Archive, right? So archive.com.
right.
There are so many papers always coming, and like, it's so hard to even keep up just to look at those papers. They're about like reading them, understanding them, just to keep up with like what's happening. Good. So are we saying that, just like people got excited about cryptocurrency, now people are excited about AI and agents and everything, and then eventually something else will come, and this whole euphoria about like AI will be gone. Just like cryptocurrency, like people kind of like think that, okay, there's something like, that's what I've heard people saying. A lot of people saying that, okay, we spend so much time on cryptocurrency, that's now gone. Now it's all about AI.
Yeah.
So even AI will, I don't think so. I don't believe that, but I'm just want to hear your perspective.
Yeah. The thing is, like, I love history as well, just learning the history of finance and economics. And I studied so many bubbles. And so I guess the dot-com bubble is probably the most prominent one that people remember. Yeah. And people basically at that time, if you read the articles in newspapers and headlines, were basically saying the internet is a fad.
Exactly.
It's temporary.
It's not. Yeah.
All this money that we're putting into it is useless. It could be spent into solving world hunger and like all these causes that everything else besides the internet, basically, like they just thought it was the biggest waste of money and time. And today a core background, and we don't even think about it as a bubble. It's just like, how can you call the internet a bubble at this point? Like, to state, it's just unfathomable. So I think that also happened to crypto. Like, crypto had the hype stage where everyone was just crypto.
Everyone, right?
Everyone. It went to $20,000 in that last peak cycle. It came back down, and now that it's going back up again, you're seeing far less hype. We hit an all-time high like a couple months ago, and the amount of hype it's generated is like 5-10% of what it was at its.
So people are getting used to it, right? People are getting used to it, just like another asset. They're starting to think about it. So similarly, we are going to get used to AI. The hype will be going away, and then we'll just get used to it. Like now, we are already used to like searching from Google Photos and then searching by a tag name. Earlier, we used to like tag each and every photo. Picasa, I think, right? I used to upload all the pictures and then tag everything.
I know.
Now we are so used to like Google doing that work for us, creating the albums automatically for us. So
yeah, exactly. It's going to be kind of a stable set part of
business as usual.
Business as usual, correct.
And then maybe like this whole cryptocurrency will just automatically flow into our lives. We won't even understand, like gradually over a period of time.
Yeah, it's basically like if you're going to Venmo someone, instead of it being through this central server of Venmo or Cash App or Zelle or whoever the central server is, it'll be a decentralized server. But as a user, you won't even notice it. You'll just say, I'm sending my friend money, they're sending me money, and I don't see any difference. It
will be just cool. So let's go back to Ascent hiring and like what is your motivation and how are you trying to change the recruitment industry? Let's talk about that. What is the current problem, if you can highlight?
Yeah, so the recruitment has so many different problems, but I think some of the core problems are just the fact that the job market is so incredibly fragmented and the hiring process just takes so incredibly long. So meaning that if you're an applicant today, you're applying to jobs, you're looking for a company to work at, you see the perfect job for you. You're like, okay, I'm this database engineer, I'm this full stack developer, or maybe something else. Like, I'm a great marketing person, salesperson, HR person, whatever the role is. You're like, oh, I'm perfect for this role and they're hiring for this role. Let me send an application in. And, today it's essentially you put your name into this hat and you just kind of wait there for weeks or months before you hear anything back, if you hear anything back. And sometimes they are still looking. So they're just so busy with back-end processes, they don't have time to get to your application. And then maybe 2 months go by and you hear something back saying, hey, we want to interview you. And you're like, oh yeah, I did apply to this job, but let's schedule an interview. You go to the interview, you think you did an incredibly good job. You got along with the interviewer. And then maybe a couple more weeks go by or months go by until they say, okay, we want you to talk to some more people on the team, a couple more hiring managers, directors, and the entire process just takes so incredibly long. That ends up taking months of time. People are almost used to that in a way, for recruitment to take months. But the core decision-making points, along that whole timeline happen within a day or two. So I realized that, okay, these people are not taking weeks and months to decide whether or not they want to hire you. It's just taking them that long through all the back-end processes, all the paperwork they're doing, all the other jobs that they're managing. Because of all this other work that they're doing, they're just keeping you on the back burner until they get to you. And in that same time, all these companies are missing out on this valuable talent and this problem solver coming into the company, solving the company's problems. So the goal initially was to just connect all these problem solvers with the companies that have all these problems so that they can connect with each other. The candidate, the applicant, the new employee can get paid while the company gets more work done, becomes more efficient, becomes more productive. So we want to increase that productivity just unilaterally. And one of the reasons that additionally that after talking with a couple of chief HR officers, hiring managers, they typically just want the best people applying to their jobs, and they weren't able to find it. So as an applicant, we're all like, yeah, I'm qualified for this role. Hire me. Like, I'm ready to do this. But as a hiring manager, you're going through all these maybe resumes very quickly, and you may be spending a couple seconds on it. The average time is around 6 to 8 seconds for a recruiter to spend on a resume, which is not really enough time to read your whole life story and decide whether you're a good fit for the role. But it's how it works because they're just getting so many applicants. So we wanted to create a system that just centralizes this analysis. And like having this AI background, I realized that I could custom tune and like custom train some models to look at a resume the same way a hiring manager or a recruiter would want to look at the resume. So that's what I spent some time initially doing right around after ChatGPT came out, 3.5, seeing, okay, like there's this huge problem of this candidate, recruiter, company applicant mismatch. Like, why are they not finding each other? And it's because the recruiters just either take too long to go through your resume, or they're just not even finding your resume because there's so many applicants and they don't have enough time. So, the AI I initially created using ChatGPT, it was basically like a single prompt, and I would throw in a resume and it would spit out something. And I'd say, okay, that's pretty good. And I would throw in the same resume and it would spit out something completely different the next time. Oh, that's kind of weird. I'd throw it in the resume again and spit out something completely different the third time. I was like, okay, this is unusable. It's not reliable, not consistent. I don't even know what it's looking at. It's a black box. So I have no hope for this at this point. But then, I started hearing about some of this agentic kind of, openings potentially, and how you can use a series of different guys to kind of piece by piece analyze a particular problem and create very consistent, very reliable responses out of it. So I started creating that framework originally. So at first it was you would put the resume in and it would say, okay, we need to analyze this part of the resume, that part of the resume. It would spin up maybe 2 more agents. Those 2 agents are now looking at it, and then maybe 3 more agents to analyze some other parts of it. So we kind of built this architecture to just create as many agents as we could to analyze that candidate as essentially better than a human, and aggregate all that analysis into a single report for a hiring manager or a recruiter to quickly see who they should be talking to first. So it doesn't necessarily make the hiring decision. It just tells the recruiter and hiring manager, hey, this person either is a perfect fit or this person has incredibly transferable skills that you can use and you can train very quickly. So we let these hiring managers know on this analysis saying, hey, either it's a perfect fit or it's an incredibly good fit that with a little bit of training could be an excellent fit as well. So we wanted to close in that gap as much as we could. And then kind of like as we were building this 3.5 version, GPT-4 came out. And that was kind of the breakthrough moment that we needed to go from, hey, this is kind of useful to, oh man, this is so perfect. It's unbelievable. Like, we need to ship this and sell this like immediately because this is immediately usable for companies. Because at the same time, it tells you who you should be talking to first. It eliminates so much of the bias that humans will inherently have. So that's like, if the name is too hard to pronounce, a recruiter might skip it. Or if they see just different aspects like, oh, they didn't go to the right college, or, oh, they don't have this education or this certification. But if they've actually done the skills and the jobs previously, and we understand because with our series of agents that, oh yeah, this person is ready for this job and qualified for the job and can perform the responsibilities of this job based on their previous experience, we want to highlight those candidates just as equally as someone who has maybe certification, maybe less experience or things like that. Or maybe someone on the flip side saying like, oh, this person has 5-6 certifications. This person is very dedicated to learning, growing, developing, whatever it is, either database engineering, AI, machine learning, whatever it might be, web development. And this is someone you should be talking to, even though they might not have a college degree or they might not have a traditional computer science background. But they've still dedicated a lot of time to learn those types of things to where they seem like a very good fit. So we wanted to highlight some of the more non-obvious applicants and get them equally as shown on top, like right underneath the perfect hires, essentially.
So you take a resume and then now you're scanning it through your, let's assume you have this whole toolbox of like agents, right? So you're, I'm just visualizing, right? So you're passing the whole resume through multiple agents and then they're looking at it from different perspectives. Right? So they take piece by piece out of that resume and maybe you're doing parallel processing, right? Right? And quickly coming up with the resolution. And then the moment you have GPT-4 coming into picture, your inferences are much better, hallucinations are lesser, and then the answer discrepancies of the answers are going down and almost eliminating all the biases. So that's fantastic. What happens to people like me who is like very lazy even to put or create a resume together and just rely on like, okay, I have all my information out there in LinkedIn or social media. So what do I do? Does your agent like go outside of the box and start looking at social profiles as well?
Oh, well, one of the roles that we initially were going to target, like in the technical space, was like technical roles essentially. So we actually created some like agents to analyze GitHub. So it'll look at some of your repo and see what languages you're writing in. Because GitHub has all of this available through their API and things like that. So we can actually look at the code, see what languages, what percent of each code base is written in what language, what percent you've contributed to it. We can also get very nitpicky and say how clean your commits are. We haven't done all of that yet.
But do you have that in roadmap or something like that?
Yeah, like it's something out of potential. And as soon as someone is like, yeah, I'd love to know how clean their code is on top of candidate code.
Right.
It's something we can theoretically do. So with the power of these agents. So
just go to your LinkedIn profile, start scanning their activity over there.
Pick the
GitHub link if at all he has shared, he or she has shared anything. Go over there and start scanning code.
So it starts with the resume. If your LinkedIn or if your GitHub is on the resume, that's something we can look at. So, but yeah, so it can go a little bit outside the box. Currently, we can make it go
focus on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Sorry, not LinkedIn, the resume itself, like whatever.
The main focus is the resume. And one of the things that we wanted to combat was this like special edge that some people and these special resume writers kind of give some of their clients is that the typical kind of ATS that you might be used to, you might have heard about has like...
What is ATS? I do not know ATS.
ATS is like applicant tracking software.
Okay.
So it's essentially the tool that keeps track of who applied, when did they apply, where did they apply from, and also keeping track of where they are in the whole hiring process. So whether they're in the screening call, whether they're interviewing, whether at the offer letter stage, whether they're hired or like ready to get fully onboarded into your company. So a lot of these ATS platforms you might have heard use some sort of keyword matching, which really acts as like a glorified control F. So it's trying to analyze your resume based on solely these keywords. And if your resume talks about perfectly how you would accomplish the job, but just leaves out those keywords, you'll kind of be missed from these resume scanners. And so,
I remember like when we were 10 years back, 15 years back, used to add those keywords, Java, .NET, everything in the resume, bloated resume with all the keywords over there. Yeah.
So we were like, okay, like this is not showing us who you are, what you are. It's just a bunch of keywords. So, and also there's this like bias, of course, because of the human attention span of putting every resume on one page, essentially. You should have a 1-page resume or maybe a 2-page resume if you're a little bit more experienced. But because we have a series of agents looking at these resumes, we want to let you write your entire whole life story, everything you've done, talk about all your work experience, all of your education, certifications you've done, the clubs you've been at, anything that's relevant for you and your potential roles, we want to know about so that we can evaluate you at that very unique level, at a level that's more indicative of your performance and who you are as a person, rather than this single one-page resume that's eliminating so many details of your life. So that's something we really wanted to focus on, and something we've already achieved. And we as we keep expanding our company and the number of companies that are using us, we hopefully will change that mindset and shift it from, hey, I need to put the right keywords in here, I need to put the right sort of length in here, I need to put in the right terminologies that are required, and just talk about yourself as you normally might. And we'll figure out exactly what kind of competence you have, what kind of experience you have, skills you have, and how in-depth those skills are based on how you talk about them in your resume.
But I still need to have that skill of writing the resume correctly. I mean, expand all your things so that your agents can work on it. If my resume is like really bad,
we've seen some you can skip words, you could have very broken English, and it'll still pick up and
but at least you give some meat to it so that
right.
The human won't be able to understand in that.
You might not get the content writer role, but you'll get, if you're very technical, you'll get that Python developer role if you or a cloud architect, if that's kind of what you're doing.
So ATS is something sitting between the company, a third party, right? So if I suppose I go to LinkedIn and apply for a job, or if I go to, I don't know what else people use nowadays. Like we used to use Indeed and Dice.com.
Yeah, Indeed, Dice, Monster. There's so many. There's over 10,000 job boards.
But then people still use this? I mean, I have not applied for a job.
A lot of companies actually don't use LinkedIn. So it depends on what field you're in. If you're in tech, these roles are still typically on LinkedIn. But if you're trying to work at a Burger King, an Amazon, a Target, those jobs are hard to find on LinkedIn. Essentially,
where do we find those jobs?
And those are just incredibly fragmented. So those are part of the fragmented problem. It's all these jobs are on all these different places, and it's so hard for an applicant to find where they should even apply to, much less am I qualified for the role and this and that. So they don't even know where to look. And so that's another part of the platform that we're working on currently is, so we have these AI agents and we're using AI. That part's working amazingly and all these automations, but we also want to bring in the human aspect back into this, because humans, are the ones who have the true networks, in terms of knowing their friends, their family, their colleagues, their peers. And these are the people who have, worked with or understand what, their friends are capable of. And we want these, you, your friends, your family, to all be involved in the hiring process, which kind of happens today to some level. You might get some, hey, there's this job here you should apply to, casually, but there's no financial incentive for that unless it's a company referring. So a lot of companies have some sort of internal referral program, and they all love it, because they get higher quality candidates, and, it shortens the time to hire, and the person who does the referring gets a little bit of some money out of it too.
Yeah, exactly. I got long back. I hired a friend, referred a friend back in IBM 20 years back. But anyway, so go ahead.
Exactly. And those typically end up being the best hires. So we wanted to allow not just the companies that have that to continue that, but also open that up to everyone. So that now if you're a cloud architect and all your friends are you're in the cloud architect, engineering kind of, sphere, essentially, all your friends are doing this, and maybe one of them gets laid off, or one of them loses their job or wants to do something different. You can go on our platform, search up, hey, this person is a great cloud architect. Let me look up all these cloud architect jobs, which is something you would never do normally, because typically you're not going to go out of your way for someone to get hired unless they're really desperate or something like that. But it's not something you would casually do, but we want to make it something that does casually happen. So you'd come on our platform, you'd see, these 7 companies are hiring cloud architects. I know the perfect person for this role. Let me refer them to all 7 of these jobs. And if any one of them hires my friend, I'll get 5,000, 10,000, 2,000, whatever the bounty happens to be at that point. And I have a financial incentive to now not only help the company find excellent applicants, but help my friends and family also get connected with these, get them employed, and kind of solve this labor market in a brand new kind of way. And the reason I don't think it was this, because something like this could have been possible beforehand, where you up all the jobs to everyone, and then let everyone kind of become a recruiter. But if it's so open, like as I'm explaining it, you might decide, hey, I know 10 people who are absolutely not qualified for this role, and I'm going to send them all to this job just in case maybe one of them happens to get somewhere.
Correct. Yeah.
And so that's where our AI agents will come in and say, like, okay, like these 10 people were not the right person, but, or maybe none of them were like terrible picks. Maybe one person they did refer actually might be a good person. So that's the person we would go send onto the company saying like, hey, this is someone you should maybe talk to and look at. And if it's the right person, you'll get some money, solving a really important task for the economy as a whole, because the labor market is one of the most important parts of the economy at the moment.
So good. So you talked about like all the different aspects of how the hiring process can be improved. We also talked about like ATS. My question is, okay, I'll take a step back. How did you even identify this problem? I mean, why do you think that this is a big problem to solve for? Because you were in the cryptocurrency minting monies and trading with your friends. Like, what changed and how did you find this area? Like,
yeah, so at my old fintech company, it was doing pretty well until it wasn't. So it was a Series B company. They were trying to raise their Series C, and they just couldn't raise that next funding round. And I could kind of see the writing on the wall and count down the number of days until either the company goes bankrupt or they acquired by someone else at a far lower valuation. So they ended up getting acquired by another company, and a lot of the product team basically got laid off, essentially all of them. And so, and all these talented people just all of a sudden not just left our company, but you were hearing layoffs across Amazon, across Google, across Microsoft, across Facebook, all the big tech, FANG, even like still larger companies aren't FANG. They were all laying off some of their greatest talent, their most productive people. And now all of a sudden the market was just super saturated with all of this great talent.
Yeah, it is now as well.
It is still
very hard to get a job.
It's hard to get a job, but the problem isn't the fact that there are no jobs. There are any jobs. It's the fact that these medium and small size companies don't have the ability to reach out and get connected with this great talent. And nor are these great applicants or these great talents finding these small, medium companies, because it's just not showing up in their feed. It's all about what you see and what people are showing you and what people are referring to you. So if it's not in your attention span, you're not going to see it. So we wanted to build something that helps these medium and small size companies find, seek out, and get connected to this great talent pool that's currently out there in mass. And so I myself was looking for a job for a long time, and I realized, okay, like I'm now competing with people who are 15, 20 years, 30 years in a FANG company. My chances are going to be a lot lower than like, if I'm competing with these guys, it's going to be a wash. But, if I can, but I also was talking, so I know a couple of recruiters in my family and THROs, hiring managers, and they're all telling me the complete opposite story. They're all telling me, oh, I don't know where anyone is. I'm trying to hire this role, that role, this role, that role, and I can't find anyone. And I'm like, oh, that is interesting. If you can't find anyone, and everyone I know that's looking for a job is like, none of these companies are hiring. There's this incredible mismatch in the labor market, and the current solutions aren't solving it. Like LinkedIn, as much as it's a great kind of platform for networking, it doesn't necessarily help you get a job any more than just going out and networking in person, essentially. So there wasn't a true dedicated solution for connecting both companies and candidates at this that we would want them to connect at.
No, that's true. That's true. I've been hearing the same thing. I mean, like from a layman's standpoint, from a consumer standpoint, that, if you, I do not know how much truth over there is, but the point is like if you apply through LinkedIn, there is hardly any chance that you're going to get a response back. Versus if you go to their portal and have a referral done,
Right, exactly.
the chances goes up. So though we have this platform, the great platform to network, and we use that all the day. I use it every day. In fact, I forgot about like Monster. You reminded me of Monster. So anyway, not talking about those platforms, but the point is like maybe the recruiters are not looking at those jobs applications that are coming, or maybe like it's so much coming in they do not
So
have
much coming in that it's hard for them to
right.
right. So
when I apply through LinkedIn or any other platform, what happens after that?
right, it goes into the basic ATS where you rely on a human and their ability to go through, navigate both the ATS and your resume as quickly as possible.
Question. So when you talk about ADS, I get confused. So suppose there are like 3 companies, A, B, C. They are hiring. They published all their jobs in LinkedIn, right? So now I, as a developer, architect, whatever, right? So I see those jobs. I apply through LinkedIn. Let's say there are 3 options. One is like click on the button. It will take me to their career portal. I fill it up. Or there is this whole thing about like easy apply. I'm just giving LinkedIn as an example. There might be other platforms. Easy apply, and then I'm done. So I'm waiting for the the recruiter to come back to me. Where is ATS getting involved, and like what is the role that it plays as a middleman?
Right. So LinkedIn actually is a terrible ATS. Most companies have another portal that connects to LinkedIn. So either it's like Greenhouse, you might have heard of, or Lever.
Yeah.
They're like the typical ATS. So you probably that's typically where you go to apply to a job. And that's where your name will kind of go. So even if you easy apply, and I've used the LinkedIn recruiter tool to just see how it works, what I'm competing with. And I understood that the most basic version of like analysis on like the planet. So actually what happens when you easy apply is that the recruiter can only see your, the company you worked at and your job title. They don't actually see any of the bullet points that you write underneath until they click on your profile, in which case you'll see this so-and-so has looked at your profile. And that's when you'll say, this person actually wanted to look at the bullet points in my job description. Otherwise, if you apply to a job and you don't see someone else has looked at your profile, they haven't seen any of the bullet points that you've written in your job. So that's a big part of it. And also the resume itself, they don't you'll actually know when they look at your resume because you'll get notified saying so-and-so has looked at your resume after you easy apply. And if you don't get that notification, that means they didn't even look at your resume. So if you haven't gotten that notification ever, that means you never had a recruiter or a hiring manager look at your resume. Ever.
Interesting. Very interesting.
So that's how LinkedIn works. So,
but then your company, Ascent Hiring, is it competing with LinkedIn or is it complementing LinkedIn?
It's very much complementing it. So what we do is we take companies from job posting to onboarding. So part of that, the initial steps are we help companies create a job post, they put in a couple of details on what they want their ideal employee to have. So the skills that they should have, the tools that they should know, the experience that they might, that they should have under their belt by the time they apply to your job. And we'll create a professional job description based off of that. And from there, we'll post it on all these different job boards. So LinkedIn being one of them, Monster, Indeed. So all these different job boards. And we then aggregate all these applicants back into our platform.
Okay.
So as a hiring manager and a recruiter, you're just coming to our platform, setting up a job, and then just sitting back and relaxing. And from there, our AI agents are analyzing each and every applicant.
That is the background process that is happening. So who are your competitors?
So in terms of the ATS front, it would be Greenhouse, Lever, Ashby.
But how do you know that they're not building something similar what you're building?
Right. So they could very well be building something, but they just haven't. It just doesn't exist. And you could...
Is there a reason? Because the reason I'm asking is I'm pretty sure you love Lex Friedman podcast, right? So I was hearing this Perplexity interview. And and everyone was asking the same question, like, what is Perplexity? How is it different from Google? Right? That is the most common question. And Arvind Srinivasan's point of view is like, I want to build something which the bigger companies are not going to build, right? So trying to find out the weakest point of the big players and try to fill in the gap, because
Right.
Google is never going to like summarize answers. They're always going to give links because that is their business model. They do not want
Financial incentive. Yeah.
yeah, we do not want to cannibalize it. So that's what I'm trying to understand. Like, what is that weak link that you have found
Right.
which
So
you're trying to exploit?
the current weak link is the fact that none of them have any kind of the AI or automation that we have. So not only do we analyze each and every applicant, because we understand each and every applicant so well, we actually automatically schedule a screening call or an interview with the best talent that applies directly into the hiring manager or recruiter schedule. So as a hiring manager, you come to us, you create this job, it gets sent everywhere. All these applicants are applying from everywhere, and you're still sitting back and relaxing. You're still not necessarily needing to do anything. You can still continue working, coding, developing, building something. And then on your schedule, you'll see a meeting pop up say, hey, you have a meeting with so-and-so this time. It's a time where you're free and they're free. And you'll just go from meeting to meeting, talking to the most qualified candidate to apply to your job. So that's a series of steps that none of these competitors have taken yet. And they haven't released any kind of roadmap, but we kind of pre-planned this in a way. So we knew that someone else might come along and maybe make something equivalent.
There's always someone else.
Yeah, exactly.
Correct.
And so that's why we realized we need something with staying power, something that pulls them in initially, which is this AI analysis, but also keeps them on our platform, doesn't let them go to the next best ATS that comes in a year from now or something like that. So that's actually why we're building this recruiter network. So what we're imagining is we're going to have all these different jobs posted on our platform, and we're going to have this massive recruiter network helping share all of these links across LinkedIn, across Facebook, WhatsApp, every single job search group on the planet you can imagine. We want to see an Ascend hiring link, essentially helping connect this company to their ideal candidates. And so that's going to be part of that network effect. And then the additional part of it is the viralness of it. We, as a small company, we don't have the biggest marketing spend, but we can have our users talking about us and hyping us up and hyping themselves up. That's what we want. So,
but you are always in the background, right? So you are the ATS platform. No one talks about ATS platforms. So for example, no one talks about Monster or LinkedIn or the social networks that we are used to. But what happens behind the scene, no one talks about it. It's like I'm from a integration background, and we are always the plumbers, right? So the plumbing is not working, people are aware.
You're right.
If the plumbing is working, like no one cares about it. So how will that viralness happen, right? I mean, what is your plan?
So our plan for this is because we are paying all of these people who are successfully connecting companies and candidates. They're going to be so they're going to be talking about it on YouTube, on TikTok, on Instagram, Facebook, talking about, hey, I made $2,000 this month. I made $10,000 this month. I made X amount of money this month, just utilizing my existing connections, my friends and my family, connecting them with the job and getting paid for it. Contributing a valuable service to both companies, your friends and family, other colleagues. And because of that, that's basically viralness of how the way I talk about it and the way I want other people to maybe do what I do. It's like these days, it's all about attention. It's how much attention can you get, and then validate what you're worth, essentially.
So, so let me understand this. So, you are building an ATS, which is coming up with this advanced analytics, advanced AI based scanning process with all this agentic framework sitting in between all the social networks and Facebook and Facebook and LinkedIn and etc., Instagram, whatever, right? The social networks, right? So somewhere over here in the middle, you are setting over here, your primary goal is to help the background process of scanning and helping the recruiters take a decision. So that is the primary goal. which you're currently focusing on, but in the future, you're going to focus on the other part, which is like connecting to all the social networks so that it kind of like opens up the doors for general customers like us to go ahead and start applying.
Right. Yep. So we kind of created already this agentic framework that
which is the background process.
The background process
that
increases the precision of hiring. Like it tells you exactly who you should be talking to, depending on who's already applied. But now with this recruiter network, we aim to be the world's largest recruiter network, which isn't that hard in terms of numbers, but will take a lot to build up to. We want to increase the recall. So we want to increase the recall of the number of applicants that apply to this job. And we already have the tool to increase the precision and who you should be talking to first at hiring. So by tackling both recall and precision, which is, as a model developer who needs to create models for all of Wall Street, it was all about recall and precision. What we created, we have to verify and annotate based off precision recall. And then we would end up getting, building these 97% precision recall models. And that's what I want to do here for hiring, is essentially creating this pipeline that increases not only, who you should hire, but where they come from.
Yeah. So it's not only about like the model, not only about the processing around the model, not only about, integrating with the customer's, HR system, but it's a lot more integration. Now you're thinking about like expanding it to all the different social networks so that you can expose it to the external world as well. Tell me one thing real quick. Something that clicked my mind is I did a demo 6 months back where we created a custom GPT, right? Custom GPT, which is like specifically for resume analysis. So I give it a job description. I think everyone did that. Like that was the most common thing.
Right.
So I give it a job description. I upload my resume. It will tell how much it matches or not. And then it will also suggest that whether I need to make some changes or not. How is it different? Like I can just use a custom GPT. Why do I need to use this agentic framework that you're building?
So the agentic framework will just be more performant. If you use any of these custom GPTs and you give it the same resume 5 times, you probably get 5 different results. Yeah. Our system will give you the exact same result every time. So part of it is consistency, like verified consistency. The other part is that it's not just about, we've created an entire platform. So it's not only just who is the person, are they the right match, but also putting them through this pipeline of truly expediting that job posting to onboarding into your HR system. So we not only distribute the job post, analyze each and every person, schedule the meetings automatically, but we're also,
it's this whole ecosystem surrounding it, right? It's not only just that processing part, but the whole ecosystem.
Exactly. It's where we have an offer letter negotiator who's going to be negotiating within a set bounds that the hiring manager sets, and we'll be able to talk to the applicant based on their experience and skills and extra things that they bring up in that conversation to determine how much extra money or benefits they might be able to get. And then onboarding is an entirely complicated, it's not necessarily complicated, it's just a very tedious task that humans are typically doing. Basically putting in your direct deposit, getting your passport, social security number, your benefit, setting everything up in the HR system so that you're ready to go. And we're creating a simple software that just does that automatically for the applicant, for the company.
I know you are already working with renowned hospitals, and maybe you're also expecting. How much time does it take for an organization to onboard Ascent Hiring itself?
So we actually we can actually connect your existing ATS. We connect with over 26 ATS platforms already. And if you're using
I got confused over here. I thought you were competing with the ATS.
Yeah, exactly. So they don't know we're competing with them yet. We don't exist on their map yet. So with that, they can kind of log in with Greenhouse, their Lover account, Fountain, any of these different ATS platforms. Oh. We can pull all of their applicants into our platform. And because they don't have any of the analysis that we do, they can come in, use our analysis, and we'll do all the automations and put them back into their ATS. So they theoretically can be onboarded within a couple of hours, and literally within 1 hour if they're really diligent about it. And then within that time period, they'll be able to come in, set up their account, connect their existing ATS into our platform and just start using it from there. But with some of our clients, they actually don't have an existing ATS. They might be using Excel. So for them, it's a night and day difference. They just come in.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, we just bulk upload whatever they have already, import CSV, and they're able to see a true user interface that's dedicated for hiring and recruitment. Not only keeps track of applicants, but helps them really get to their time to hire and reduce to that days and weeks instead of months.
So, how quickly are you spawning up the different tenants for different clients? And the next question that I have is from a security standpoint, these are all HR data, right?
Right.
So kind of like compliant certifications, etc., that you have to do so that like people can start using your software very quickly. Because what I have seen from my experience, Abhishek, is most of the time is wasted, or I wouldn't say wasted, but spent in vendor management, contract negotiations to onboard a new vendor. Like, so what is that? I mean, people spend a lot of time over there. So how do you even get through that? Like, what are the expedite?
So that's actually something we're still trying to figure out. We have a couple of clients, but we're still trying to figure out exactly the best way to the word kind of our platform and what we can do so that it'll make the most sense and they'll be kind of seeing the ability to onboard is far quicker than they can imagine. And a lot of the times we're reaching out to companies that have these jobs that have, so there's one company that had 600 people apply to their data scientist role. The first day, 800 people applied the second day. The third day, another 200 to 300. And within 3 days, they have more applicants than they could ever read in like 3 months time. So, they came to us and said, hey, like, what do we do? How do we get through this? So they had they used Greenhouse, but still, there's still a human having to do all these, resume reading. So what we did is we plugged in our platform into ours, quickly scanned through all thousands of their applicants, told them, okay, these are the top 50 people that applied to this job who you should be talking to immediately, because what we found out, through a lot of surveys and, older HR data, the top talent typically only stays on the market for 10 days. And the recruitment process takes longer than 10 days. You're missing out on the best talent, inherently. So
top talent is staying for 10 days, and then there are so many jobs out there, and there are so many people who are not getting jobs. So it's a very interesting landscape altogether. 3 completely different directions.
There's so many different aspects to it. So it's something that, in terms of just onboarding, like, and then security, in terms of security, it's everything we do is SOC 2 compliant. If you've heard of SOC 2,
so absolutely, that's what I was going to. Okay,
we're officially not SOC 2 certified yet, but we're in the process. Every tool that we use is SOC 2 certified. So we knew from the beginning that security is going to be a huge thing that not only for us to manage internally, but for other companies to actually know about how secure we are. So we're on all the ISO 27000, SOC 2, eventually GDPR. So we want to make sure that companies are aware of how seriously we take security.
Because it's a very sensitive area, right? HR area is the most sensitive.
Right.
Everything is sensitive, in any kind of customer data, but HR area, I know, like, there are larger companies who are, they do not want to get into like agreement with the smaller company, startup specifically. They want to see train, they want to see the startup grow. They want to see like all the different certificates even before starting to talk. So that's where it makes it very interesting, right? I mean, how do we, that's chicken and egg problem. That's
a little bit of a chicken and egg. But we just have to find the small, medium companies that are able to take a chance and just have this huge recruitment problem to begin with, who are like, hey, we need to solve this recruitment problem. Otherwise, we're not solving the problems at our company. Like we're losing productivity, we're losing efficiency, we're falling behind in our KPIs. So we need people to hire. We need to hire them quickly, and we're willing to use this software that is claims to be very secure. We are very secure. but then are ready to use it, connect us with their data. And so we also had to, in order to get Google verified to have a Google sign-in, we had to put some of our data privacy policies and practices through the Google verification. So we have that initial Google verification already to say, okay, like we're not doing anything nefarious, we're not doing anything bad. And from there, we have to just continue with certification, SOC 2, and the rest of it.
Awesome. I think this was fantastic discussion. I have so many other topics, so many other things to ask you, but there's so much to know and so much to learn. But so, in your roadmap, you have all this social network thing that is coming up, and also the partner network, or I think partner network. Did you say that? Like partner?
So it's mainly going to be the recruiter network.
Recruiter network. Yeah, that's what I was like trying to recall that word.
Yeah, so that's the main thing that we're going to be building. And then next, at the same time, we're trying to scale up the sales and the marketing for our existing core ATS platform. So,
awesome. Okay. I think I covered, at least like my curiosity standpoint. I covered everything that I could think of. So yeah, I think that's all. I wish you all the best. That's what I can tell you. So what we are going to do for going forward from here is like, typically I have a YouTube channel called Curious Circuits, as well as like in LinkedIn. So I'm going to share this with all the audiences over here. And I hope you like all the best and all the success, and every company starts using Ascent Hiring. That's what I can hope. And also like technology landscape, everything is changing so fast. So maybe like you will keep on adding more and more stuff to your core area of expertise, core product, right? Cool.
Thank you. It was great being here, talking to you, and explaining some of the things I've been doing and some of the stuff I've done in my past. So it's been a lot of fun.
It's a pleasure for me as well, Abhishek. And more interestingly, to see the journey that you have gone through and then how you have ended up. And there is always a connection, right? So you started from a gaming PC and then to Bitcoin, to all this cryptocurrency, then GPUs, and that led you to AI, some work in AI, and that led you to this one. And maybe there will be some more leading you to somewhere else. Right? But it's that's the journey. That's the beauty of it.
Absolutely.
Cool. Then we'll catch up later, Abhishek. And thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Take care. Bye.